before we begin, this will have the first part of the chapter of chapter 1 of the after story, so you can skip to that if you want to. In the philosophy after show, I discuss different statements, even if they're small, more deeply. I wanted to start this channel in the first place out of my love of philosophy and wanting to a place to discuss interesting ideas like Kurzgesagt or Exerbone, or the channel Hello Future Me or something like that. Channels like those. Yeah, I will get better at making videos and with audio and things like that over time, of course. Oh yeah, I'm going to be talking about the ideals of the fisherman near the end of the philosophy after show. Sub point 1. Now here's the first point: glass half empty, or glass half full, and glass half empty. So on the first, glass half full and glass half empty. So in the first scene, we see an interesting case of glass half full and glass half empty. With the new folks think they're good to fight pirates since they haven't gotten any action because it's peaceful, while everyone else thinks they're softies since they haven't gotten any action. You can be an optimistic or a nihilist, but I consider myself to be an optimistic nihilist. I would like to see the best case scenario, but I expect things to be the worst case scenario. Like MJ says in Spider-Man and the new Spider-Man movies is, if you don't expect anything, you can't be disappointed. Now, adding to this is that adds to what makes me view life in this way is I know life is with this first part is I know life is meaningless if you're not religious. A life is essentially meaningless if you're not religious like me, but at the same time, that means you can make whatever you want important and meaningful to you in life. If you're stressed about little things, just remember, compared to how small we are in the cosmos, it's all pointless. I think I always think of the video that I saw about how big the universe is, and about that picture that was shown in the video that talked about how we're just all suspended in a mote of dust of on a sunbeam or a light beam in the middle of the cosmos, and all these things happen on our planet, and you zoom out and you're just a little speck of dot, little dot on the in the cosmos, and suspended in a light beam. And it makes you really think about your problems are really just like very small and pointless compared to how big things can be. And this scales out to how I think about death as well, but I will talk about that philosophy in a future video. Okay, the next topic of discussion is separating the art from the artist, and about how biases affect people. Now, this part goes to when Sanji was cooking the food in the kitchen. The show seems to choose to separate the art and the artist, with Jessica choosing to use Sanji's recipes and the doctor choosing to help Chopper. I agree, someone as a person can be terrible, but you can still enjoy their work. Of course, everyone has their own personal exceptions. For me, it's with Logan Paul. For a second, I did think he did actually change and make an attempt to improve himself, but after he bragged to someone, after I watched the Crypto Zoo fiasco from CoffeeZilla, in the first part, at the end he was talking about he bragged to someone about stealing some 10 million crypto. brag to someone saying I'm stealing some 10 million crypto in like a text message, and they're like, "You're not that guy," and he said, "No, I am that guy" in the next message. So yeah, that told me the type of person he actually is. And so I can't really enjoy anything he does or anything he's in by this point. So, but you know, everyone has their own exceptions. Um, Everyone has skeleton, and also like everyone has skeletons in their closet. I'm aware of this as well. No one is perfect. So make that point that no one is perfect. Everyone has skeletons in their closet. You know, whether those be big skeletons or small skeletons. You know, so I'm not surprised anymore when things come out exposing people. Even though I think bad people can make good art, that doesn't those art that art doesn't excuse their bad actions. And with biases, I know they can affect your decision making and judgment. So I try to get information about who people are and judge them based on their actions over time. This is, to me, is the real only true measure of like how you can know how what someone is like, is seeing how they act, like their trend of how they act and think over time, over their career. To me, that is the main exception there. Okay, so the next talking point is about with Chopper. About Chopper said, was about what something Chopper said was, he said, you shouldn't let your fear limit you. On this point, if you fear how David Goggins does, it's a guide for what you need to do to get past your obstacles. Something Chopper did was putting his ideals above his personal safety. He puts his ideals of being a doctor over escaping the base. We see this other times in the show as well, where dreams are associated with living, like with Luffy versus Bellamy. And the next point is when preparedness meets opportunity, it's called luck. Yeah, some points are going to be longer than others. And yeah, I'll make other after show videos like this as well in the future, because after I watch a TV show or a film or read a book or something, like I always think about the messages and themes and the deeper meanings behind stuff. And like Haikyuu, for example, I can gush all day about the themes, like with about how we're the sum, about like how with talent and hard work and IQ, there's a certain character that said about how what we do on a scale of 1 to 10, they do people above, people at the top of their field do on a scale of 1 to 20, or a denser, more effective 10, and they most likely do training techniques or things that we don't even think about. And so, calling them luck, calling someone talented or lucky is really as an excuse is just an insult to them, you know. And also with Oikawa, with opportunity, with potential. Yeah, I will definitely make some videos about those characters and about those different lessons and things in the future for sure. Yes, the next point is when preparedness meets opportunity, it's called luck. As Robin gets information about the base, it seems like she isn't that helpful, but she comes in clutch when the Straw Hats need a place to hide their ship. When she mentions that they have empty ports for the Straw Hats to leave their ship, have an empty port for the Straw Hat to leave their ship at. And also when she spied around and learned about Shepard as well, so she can imitate. So she was able to imitate him. It's a good example of when we see people, quote unquote, make it. We just see the execution. We don't really think about all the hundreds or thousands of hours of work that went into it beforehand. Both Haikyuu and Blue Period, an anime about an artist, talk about this a bit, where it's actually an insult to call someone a genius or talented at their craft, because it discredits all the hours they put into it, even if you're not trying to insult them. Yes, I'll make a video about this topic going deeper in the future. Wow, that's wild. As no joke, I was just talking about this a little bit ago, and like just came up into my mind. And then I plopped it into the script. Yeah, right there, that proves that I'm not fake about actually loving themes, philosophy, and all that stuff. Because that just came into my mind. Because that's just how my brain works. Just I always connect themes, philosophy, and big and small ideas, and I always connect them to story beats, and things like that. And that's just how my brain works, and that's how I'm different than other people. I think is like I can connect different philosophical ideas to different characters and view them in a different perspective, and I would like to share that with others on through this channel. And next we have when Luffy hearing about the fishermen. When Luffy hears the fishermen say it's impossible to get out of the base, and thinks of it as a challenge. We have Luffy hearing the fishermen say it's impossible to get out of the base and thinking it's a challenge. He continually does what others consider the impossible. And Luffy does this with Alabasta, Dressrosa, and Marineford. It's a lesson of how something is impossible only if you believe it to be so, or if you fail all the shots you don't take. Essentially, it's important not to immediately think you can't achieve a goal out of fear of failure, since doing that is telling yourself that you already failed before you even had a chance to go after that dream. Sheesh, I can talk so much about this specifically because I was just thinking about it a lot. But I will. But it's like, let's see yours. I believe in manifesting and journaling. Manifest journaling of the self-fulfilling prophecy of you become what you think. And this is a theme that will be explored through my after stories, or through my story, through my long-running story that I'm going to be telling my videos, that you will eventually be able to fully comprehend and see how that theme is woven into different characters, into the symbolism of characters' names. Because I love philosophy so much that I couldn't help it, but I had to layer lots of symbolism in different characters' names, and I will give some codes here and there that will reveal the full meaning of some characters' names, and that's going to be fun. But yeah, like a good example. So I'm just thinking about, like, I was thinking about this a lot recently, about how you become what you think, and whatnot, when I was making my story, like Oikawa with potential, like how there was a scene where in IQ about potential, about how the coach essentially told Oikawa that you need to that what defines your potential. What it's like, who said you're at your full potential? Who said you haven't fully grown, you haven't fully matured your talent or skill, and so you can't just lie down and complain about your worse than others in whatever it is you're doing. Because once you complain and say, "Oh, I can never get to that level," then you lose. That's when you lose. You don't actually lose unless you quit. But if you get back up, that's what you do. When you get back up, that matters. And but yeah, but the real life example I was thinking of was the 4-minute mile. That I was thinking of was how one person, his last name is Bannister. For hundreds of years, people thought that you couldn't run a mile in less than 4 minutes. But then, someone else, last name Bannister, he ran a mile with like 3 minutes and 50 some seconds instead. And now running a mile in less than 4 minutes is like something that is normally done in track. And that truly showed, like, it just took one person changing their mindset and thought, and their mindset on what was possible, for everyone else to see that vision. But yeah, what I was just something I was just thinking about recently that I thought was very inspirational was illusion of what was like, when people call you delusional, take that as a compliment because you're seeing you're seeing a reality they can't even comprehend is possible. Like you're able to see a future for yourself that no one else is even able to comprehend. That the person isn't even able to comprehend you seeing, or comprehend even being possible really. So take that as a compliment when people call you crazy or delusional for going after whatever dream or goal you have, because you're seeing a reality that they think is impossible, and they can't even comprehend that being a thing. Um, and yeah, that's one of the reasons why I do manifesting of thinking about how I would feel. I think like my best self would feel like, what my best self would act like, how I would feel, etc. And so, was in also gratitude journaling of being grateful for things, being grateful for things like living and breathing and whatnot. Um, because your subconscious mind will, because when you talk to yourself positively, your subconscious mind will start manifesting into you, causing you to do actions that reflect how you think about yourself. If you're constantly telling yourself you're lazy, you're lazy, you can't do anything, you're not disciplined, you're not hardworking, not dedicated, etc., then of course you're going to keep being those things, because your body, your brain, your subconscious mind is going to keep reinforcing those habits and those into you. But if you change your way of thinking, and over the course of coming days, weeks, or months, you change it to, I am productive, I am humble, I am kind, I am generous, I am this, I am that, I am dedicated, I enjoy the process, these positive things, then these things will reflect out into your real life. And a recent example for me of this was actually today was something I struggle with. I do struggle with sometimes is treating my body like a temple and actively making sure I brush my teeth, floss, and do the mouthwash day in the morning and at night. And sometimes I only do one or two of them at nighttime, and then I may forget to brush my teeth in the morning, but I'll do it at night, and I'll use floss and things. But it's like, but I gotten back into more hearing motivation, being more positive on myself, and thinking and being more positive on myself, and like without even thinking, like I brush my teeth, flossed, and did mouthwash, and without I didn't even make a conscious decision to do to do those things. I just did them like in a snap, and I was like, and but by the time I finished flossing, I thought, wait, I didn't consciously think I need to do this. I need to treat my body like a temple, because I need to show myself that I care about what I want to do in life. I care about my body. I care about my mind. Because if your mind thinks that you don't care about you, then you won't. So yeah, I didn't like all this I just talked about wasn't even in the script. I just went on a tangent about this because I just care about it, so this specific thing so much that I made it as one of my themes in my warning story that you will see over time. Okay, time to go to the next point. But yeah, I like that how that Straw Hats had a deep reason to go back for the gold instead of just saying just because they wanted to. It reminds you that having a deep reason to go after goals and go after a goal, since it reminds you that having a deep reason to go after a goal, since otherwise you would give up on that purpose in life, which is the key to life, I think, is a purpose and feeling fulfillment in a job or career that you want. It's okay to have. I'm not even going to go on that tangent. I'm not going to. Okay. Instead of pursuing happiness alone, it's better to pursue things that can get you happiness. You know, a lot of people will think, "Oh, I'm not happy," and will constantly expect themselves to try to get to the point where they're always happy. But we'll never reach that point. We will always have ups and downs. Days were good, days were okay. When we're on days that were not okay, and when we have those bad days, it's what we do. That's when we're tested with our habits. It's easy to do the healthy habits on our good days, but it's hard to do them on our bad days when we don't feel like them and when we don't feel like doing them. So expect you will never always be happy all the time. So, in which you will also enjoy those happy moments you have more as well once you realize this as well. The next point is Condoriano, who was full of greed and arrogance, caused his own downfall. It's a self-fulfilling cycle. That's also a theme of my story that will start to come out. I will talk about how greed and pride blind you in a future video. I want to make a video about the Big Ring song, right? So the next video is going to be about the Big Ring song. I was actually going to, I was going to make a video about like all the different interpretations of William Afton, and Springtrap, and look at a whole bunch of different videos and see different people's interpretations and things, and talk about the lost potential of William Afton. And it was like, oh, you could have went this route, or you could have went this route, but then I thought, oh yeah, I can make. Yeah, I did say I did promise in the last video about making the next video about the Big Ring song. And so yeah, I will try to provide a take. I will provide a take that isn't quite the same from that popular video about the Big Ring song that I saw. I'll provide a take that isn't quite the same, and it's gonna be a little bit different, I think, and I'm gonna and whatnot. So, but yeah, I think that's my long-term project is gonna be about the different faces and interpretations of William Afton and whatnot. I'm excited for that one because I'm a huge FNAF fan. I know the lore front to back, and I know One Piece. I'm caught up to One Piece. I know lots of One Piece theories and things. It's like most. So I know a lot of Star Wars and lore and things. A lot of Star Wars and SCPs, and things. And so I just love storytelling and fiction. And I have a personal reason why I love fiction so much. I will talk about, which I may mention in the future. Okay, so let's talk about the fish and potatoes of the video. The Fisherman Commander Jonathan of Deveron. It's interesting to me that people call Jonathan peace-loving as an insult, because in the arc, it was mentioned that people called him peace-loving as an insult, right? As a Marine. And to me, I was like, what? I mean, I guess they prefer the world to be war-torn. And I'm like, what? Why is that? Or do Marines prefer the war-torn? Prefer to have you value like it be war instead of peace? Something Jonathan says is daring can sometimes be called reckless. What you can see in his character for sure. Being daring can definitely be considered to be reckless sometimes, for sure. Let's talk about the mindset of the fisher. His main trait, of course, is patience. He might be one of the smartest characters in the series to me. He observes the situation, makes a plan, and doesn't get upset when it fails, knowing he will have future opportunities. It's like the fortress was his pond, right? The next most prominent characteristic about him that he noticed was men's safety was his top priority. When his officer recommended him to corner the Straw Hats, when his top officer recommended him to corner the Straw Hats, He didn't want to risk his men getting in a big fight that was unnecessary, that could harm his men and damage the base further. He takes care of those under his wing and has a lot of responsibility. He also has a lot of humanity because his primary objective was more to unite the base and repel the Straw Hats more than lock them up. He also had respect for his opponents, and interestingly, so did Luffy. It seems to me that in other videos that I've seen about the character, I've seen about the arc, that Luffy had respect for him, calling him Fortress Guy over in he just called him a Fortress Guy instead of calling him an insult like some of the other villains. Even though both characters never actually fight, which is interesting. They don't fight, fisticuffs with each other, As Luffy with certain characters, Luffy will call them insults, some sort of insulting nickname. If you watch One Piece all the time, you know what I'm talking about. But he just called him Fortress Guy, and not and the last bit is he was willing to let the rest of the Straw Hats go if he could just get the captain and Zoro. Even after all the damage that they committed to the base. And lastly, he makes a concerted effort to get them alive as much as possible. So yeah, that is the after show for the G8 philosophy. That's the G8 philosophy after show. So next is going to be it's going to be part of this is the first part of the chapter 1 of the story. It's the first part, so not the full chapter, but it's gonna be the first part of the chapter, starting it out of the norm into the abyss. I will have like a code at the beginning that can be figured out. At the beginning of it, I will give a little clue to decrypt the message that's going to be at the beginning. Think of what was the first cipher that was used in Gravity Falls. That is all I'll say about that. Then Shepard enters the room, holding some new assignments for Ignis to fulfill. Shepard says, "Ignis, I've got a new task for you. I need you to monitor the simulations of AI-47 and AI-53 today. We've had some instability reports, and keep an eye on the simulation firewall. We've received intel that there might be some outside interference. We've had terrorist groups targeting our facilities recently, so double check all protocols." The narrator speaks. Ignis nods, tapping on the tablet to acknowledge the task. We hear the footsteps of Shepard walking away. As we do, we hear another co-worker voice say, "PDC is calling again for another interview. I know it's getting redundant, boss, but you know how it is. They call him PDC for a reason." Shepard says to the co-worker, "It's alright, I will probably be back in an hour or so. My old friend Taff always gets me out." The co-worker asks in curiosity, "Major Shepard, sir, I just wanted to ask, what is his actual name, sir? If you don't mind me asking, or why do we call him Taff?" Shepard raises an eyebrow to the co-worker. "Confidential information, son. Sorry, but he can't be trusted." At least a little bit. I tried to steer him on course toward our objective, and he seems to go off it more often than not. The employee says, "Sir, are you hoping to see the Baltimore Ravens winning this weekend?" "I would like to see them win this weekend, yes." We then hear footsteps of Shepard leaving the office and closing the door. And we hear Ignis typing. We hear his inner monologue. Another task, another check. What am I actually doing here? Monitoring artificial intelligence, yes. What does that mean in the grand scheme of things? These simulations, these AIs, they behave like real people. But they're not, right? Am I supposed to be improving them? Keeping them stable? Or is there something more to it? Shepard talks about interference, but I've never seen anything that's been outside of protocol. It's all just lines of code, data streams. What is it that I am supposed to be working toward? I know my job. What's the purpose? What's the goal here? Really? Ignis then says out loud, AI-47? Known as Aaron Petrov. It's not following the usual patterns. He seems to be working on something. Something different? We hear his inner monologue once again. It's odd. Petrov, huh? What are you up to? The narrative voice says. He collects the simulation data, narrowing his eyes as he checks what Aaron is working on. A peculiar project file labeled as Asclepius pops up. He oversaw it for a moment. Curiosity piqued. We hear Ignis' inner monologue once again. Project Asclepius? That's not something we've seen before. Not under this name. It's Greek, though. And I remember from my college Greek myth class, wasn't Asclepius the Titan of Memory or something? Right. There was a code that wanted to restore lost memories. But this isn't a history project. Why is Aaron working on it in secret? Narrative voice speaks. My friends, this is just the first part that has been foretold to me from the Akashic records here in my black satellite. Who am I to have access to such information that hasn't happened yet? Well, y'all will see soon enough. But for now, we change scene to two Naga peoples going down an ancient stone elevator heading to report to one of their Shambhala kings. Oh, I might have spoken too much. This old alchemist loves his stories too much to stay quiet when he's supposed to. Naga 1. I felt the intensity recently, raised in the human world. There's a T-force, but it's weak. Naga 2. Yes, the S has grown too strong, but the P of the serpent's hand grows, despite the D in the system. They're seeking a Q, an orifice in the barrier. Naga 1. The T, the force we rely on, is fading in the simulations. The T opposes the D, but does not reach its P in full. The humans are confused. Naga 2. They are human, but not as we understand it. They are bound by their orifice, by the simulations they cannot see beyond. The serpent's hand brings the forgotten ones E, but they need more than that to achieve the prophecy. Naga 1. We must deliver the truth to the Shambhala kings. The D will R if they don't act soon. T is not enough to contain the S. The W of our will must guide the T toward the P that is essential to our plan. Naga 2. The T exists in you and I from our ancestors. If we stand together, the T will integrate and overcome the D. Our mission is clear. Naga 1. Yes, you and I, M and S. We must confront the X, the conflict between T and D. Only then can we restore balance to the life force of the human realm. Let us go. Use the clue from the beginning of the after story to make sense of what they're saying. I look forward to you guys' theories. The clue at the beginning of the after story is the hidden encrypted message. be interesting if you can figure out what they're actually trying to say here. The next video will continue the first chapter. I'm trying to find some AI voices, like a nice AI voice for like certain characters, because my voice isn't very dynamic. It's kind of plain. It's kind of monotone. But it would be nice to see if there's anyone comments about saying, hey, maybe you should do AI voices, or nah, you should keep just doing as you do right now. So yeah, I'll try to get in character with whatever character's voice I'm reading though. Yes, bye bye.